All right, good morning, everyone. It's Yvonne here with your next Mornings with Mayesh. And I have a question for you. Have you been thinking about becoming a freelance designer, or are you thinking about hiring a freelance designer? If so, then be sure to stick around for the next hour, as today's guest, Daylen Rivera, the brand activation lead at Sweet Root Village, joins me to chat all about this important topic and shares his freelancing experiences with you, like how to find jobs, taxes, design style, social media, and more. So grab your coffee or your tea, like me, and join the conversation. If you have any questions for Daylen, go ahead and share those in the comments, and we'll be sure to get to those. I always love to hear where you guys are from, so just say hello and let us know what part of the country or the world you are listening or watching from. I want to thank all of our live watchers, all of the people who listen to the replay, whether it's a podcast or the video. I appreciate you so much. And I also, before we get started, wanted to share my screen with you. That's Remy, by the way, my dog. He's saying good morning to you guys as well. And I'm sure he's saying good morning to the FedEx guy that's probably outside my door. But let me share my screen with you guys because I wanted to share a few things with you that are new on Mayesh.com. I'm sending out an email that's going out like later today, like this afternoon after the show. But real quick, so when you shop by program, let's go into Mayesh box lots. And you have a specific program you want, and there's just the dates now. So now we have the program here, to let you know where you're at. Like if we go into live and local, you'll see live and local here. You'll see the calendar dates, and all the dates that are on the calendar are just the dates for that program. So that's really cool. Super excited about that. I think that's going to help a lot of people, and hopefully avoid any kind of confusion, because the date piece can be confusing. I get confused with it, and we work with it all the time. And then also, the one thing I wanted to show you guys is the cutoff schedule that we've added to our shopping e-commerce pages. So you'll see the cutoffs here. It's really exciting. And it'll show the cutoffs for each of the dates that you have. So it's really cool. It's, dynamic, and just showing you what you're working with in those programs or date. The last thing I wanted to show you is when you are in grid view, we now have big images. Woo, woo, woo. So excited. So when you roll over them, you can see larger images. Super awesome. Just wanted to share those quick things with you. And of course, if you haven't ever tried shopping on Mayesh.com, make sure you check it out. And that's my short little message. All right, so we're gonna get started. Say good morning, and I am going to bring on Daylen. How's it going, Daylen?
It's going well. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. Before we get started into the meat of our conversation, can you please introduce yourself and share a bit about your flower story, because it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Daylen, and I'm a florist based out of Washington, D.C. I work with the incredible Sweet Root Village team here, but pre-flowers, I grew up in a very small town in Wyoming called Lander Valley. So if there's like the 8 people from my hometown that watch my Instagram, hello, it's good to see you. And I moved from Wyoming once I graduated and pursued a career as a professional dancer, right? Like ballet was my like meat and potatoes, my favorite thing to do. And then I danced for a modern company. And I like to say, you don't pick the flower life picks you. And somehow I got roped into washing buckets for a local flower shop with a friend that I knew. So that was kind of my foot in the door to flowers. And once you get to experience the flowers in that way, it's really hard to go back. And then I attended the Design Sanctuary workshop based out of, it was in Dallas, but it was with Sue Davis and Shannon Wellington and a slew of incredible floral educators. And my mentor, Amy Balsters, was there. And I think that was the first time that I experienced flowers in a way that was like, this is beautiful art, and that this is like just surrounded by people that wanted to make magic. And from that conference, I just had this group of people like champion me into pursuing flowers. So I did the part-time like dance teacher life, and then I was trying to be a freelancer, and then eventually built a fairly lucrative career as a professional freelancer. Pre-pandemic, I was working with some of the top florists in the industry and getting cool experiences doing these like celebrity events or flying to New York. And then the pandemic happened, and that was rough for everybody. And I met Lauren and Rachel from Sweet Root Village like May 2020. So as things were like really starting to take a turn for the worst, and I was very lucky that they saw something in me and decided, to invest in me moving to DC. And now I am the brand activations lead for Sweet Root Village. So essentially, that's any event that is not necessarily a wedding. So anything like a pop-up or an editorial shoot or anything that is photographed or should be Instagram worthy is kind of the clients that I get to work with here in DC. And now I get to join the Mayesh family and kind of share my freelance expertise.
I love it. And we're so happy to have you a part of the Mayesh family. So I love this. Okay, real quick, can you introduce your friend that's sitting next to you so
Mm,
everyone knows who he
I would
is?
love to. Yeah, so this is my dog Sully. He comes to the studio with me every single day. He's the best assistant I've ever had. Yeah, he's the best dog ever. The goodest
Yeah.
boy.
And he's much more quieter than my dog, which I love it. And I love that he's like watching, that he's like
Oh,
watching.
he's like very into this video right now.
This is what I know. I was like kind of distracted. I was like, he's totally paying attention. Right,
I was
Sully?
telling this to you right before we started, but the cutest thing that he does now, it's just his habit that he's picked up in the studio, is anytime that we're processing and we're laying all the flower boxes out, he'll just hop right into a flower box and like take a short little snooze with his little snoot rested on like the lip of the box. I'll have to send you guys a video from when the Mayesh boxes came in because it was adorable.
I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely share that. And honestly, if any of you guys have really cute Mayish box pictures, I think eventually are going to do a whole kind of campaign and, share and hashtag and all of that. But yeah, we love seeing those kinds of things. It literally makes our day. Like my whole team will stop. We share it. It's fun. I love it. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, Daylen. So I know you define what a freelancer is in your video, but for those who haven't watched yet, can you go over that again? And also, by the way, if you guys haven't watched it, I'm gonna put that link in the comments for you guys too. So
Yeah, of
all
course.
yours.
Oh, all mine. Great. Yeah, so I think every company's definition of what they imagine a freelancer is will differ slightly. But for me, it's you're being hired as an expert in your field to make the job more efficient. The true definition of a freelancer is an individual who earns money on a per job or per task basis. So the IRS categorizes you as self-employed because you are then responsible for your own self-employment taxes. And it's anytime you are a contractor where your taxes are not withheld. So if you're a laborer, an independent consultant, it's anybody that would get like a 1099 tax form.
Fun. Awesome. Okay, so now that is the technical term is out of the way. Can you share some tips for finding freelance jobs if someone is wanting to start getting into the biz?
Yeah, which I think freelancing is the best way to get started in the industry, whether like you are 10 years in the game or you're just starting or you might have an interest in flowers because you're able to learn so many different skills and techniques and ways to do things from all these different like creatives in the industry. And I think that's one of the things I love about flowers, right? It is a craft. So you're like, you pass down information from person to person and you find new ways or like ways that are more efficient or like maybe I don't want to do it like that. So I think it's very valuable for everybody to find jobs. Two things: if you are a business owner that is looking to hire freelancers, I think it's important to have like a link in your social media or on your website that is just a general form that is like, if there are interested parties that want to like help, move boxes on event days or get their design hands dirty, or a local like floral community that just wants to like, I have an off weekend. I think it's important for businesses to have that as a resource. If you are somebody who is looking for freelance gigs. Um, Instagram is how I found a lot of my jobs. Just like directly reaching out to me, hey, I really love your work. You know, these are kind of the skill sets that I have. Do you have any openings? Or my first gig, I just cold emailed. This company was called Jackson Durham in Dallas, Texas. One of the first jobs I ever had, and I just emailed them, and it was, when I tell you, the most intimidating freelance interview that I've ever had in my career, but really valuable experience because I walk in. Um, and we sit down and I'm talking to the owner. He's asking me like, what you're like, do you do personals, like what is your floral skill set, and we're just talking through like what my experience, which is very limited at this point. um, and then they walk me into their like extras cooler from the event day, and they're like, okay, we want you to make two arrangements. Their whole team is just sitting there watching me. We want you to make two arrangements, one that is our style and one that you would consider to be your style. So I just sat there and like had to replicate what I thought was going to be their style. And I think part of reaching out to these jobs isn't just like, oh, I want to play with beautiful flowers, which, yes, that is a lot of the job and that is an incredible part, but it's very hard work and it's long days. So like realizing that like there's work that's associated with the play, but also doing your research on the companies. Like, go and reach out to companies that like you're really inspired by and like you want to get experience in, that design style, or they're have a great reputation for being like just a good people company, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that your designs that you made like cut the mustard for your interview.
I got the job. I got the job. I think it's all about taking feedback, right? I think you don't, as a freelancer, you don't have to be like the most talented person in the room. I think what makes a good freelancer, why people hire me, is I'm really good at like problem solving. I don't like to be like, if there is the arch is falling down, I don't think it's a good thing to like just go up and be like, hey, the arch is falling down, right? It's like the arch is falling down and here's some ways that we can solve it. I think that
Right.
it's like being proactive, just being a general pleasure to work with. Like, so you don't have to be the most talented person in the room. You just have to be really hardworking and adaptable and, um, yeah, positive attitude.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm guessing that freelancing rates vary based on experience and
Mm.
location and probably a whole bunch of other things. But can you tell us maybe what your thoughts are on what like maybe the average range is for going rates for freelancers?
Yeah, and I think it definitely varies from city to city and cost of living. I think it's important because sometimes talking money is really difficult, especially as creatives, but having those conversations really early on with the people that you're looking to freelance with, or if you're a business owner that is looking to hire freelancers, just be very upfront and clear. Like, this is the range of rates that we pay. This is kind of the expectation of the job. For me, when somebody reaches out to me or I reach out to them about a freelancing gig, I want to know, like, am I managing the team on site? Am I just going in and I am truly design hands? Am I in the studio? Am I up on a ladder like for 8 hours with like smilaxing a tent? I think knowing the scope of work will really help you set that freelance rate. I would say anywhere from, on the low side, $15 an hour is like if you're truly just moving boxes around, like helping like set candles and stuff on an event day. I would say this pretty baseline for like a designer would be like 20 to $25 is a good starting point, all the way upwards to like 35, 45, 75, depending on like your area of expertise and like what your actual role on site is going to be. Because there's definitely been jobs where I've been on site and all I am is hands, and I'm there to like
Right.
help set out arrangements or do installs. But I've also been on jobs where like I am like project managing and leading a team and I'm responsible for like large scale designs. And I think you should be compensated fairly for whatever the role that you're taking on.
Right. Awesome. That is great information. Okay, so you mentioned it in the video and a little bit at the beginning. You spoke about how to handle setting aside money for tax time and the 1099 form. But before tax time rolls around, is there any kind of sort of program that you use to
Hmm.
track your earnings and expenses in order to do your taxes at the end of the year? Like how does that work?
Yeah. So even before flowers, working as a dancer, I was technically a contract employee. So I've actually had experience as a freelancer outside of like the floral community as well. So going into places and getting my first like 1099 and being a young, like 18-year-old, like getting all these, like I'm so rich. Look at all these paychecks that I'm coming in, and then getting to tax season, it's like, oh, I actually owe a lot of money now. Was
Yeah.
very harrowing. So I've learned a lot of lessons. For me, I actually opened up an LLC for my freelancing company towards like the later half of my career, just so I could really keep it separately. I highly recommend having at least separate bank accounts, just so you can like put all your earnings into one account and then pay yourself and really know like where your taxes go. In terms of just resources, there's a couple apps that I do use that I find really helpful. One of them is Work Time Tracker. And it's really good, and I can link this all for you guys later. But Work Time Tracker, it's an app where you can just do different categories or different companies, and it helps you to like, I put in this many hours, and it will print out a report, like 30-day report or 2-week report, and that just helps me kind of know when I'm on site, when I'm breaking down, because those are all just separate categories for me. In terms of tracking expenses, I use Mile IQ. There's so many like mileage tracking apps out there, but Mile IQ is really helpful when, like maybe you're transporting flowers for a job and in your car, or you're having to drive great distances. Keeping track of those expenses is really important. And really, nothing beats a really good Excel spreadsheet. I have
Right.
a beautifully drafted, like, this is what I spent on meals. If I had to buy any like tools or mechanics or anything like for the job, I always put that in there. If I need to be reimbursed, what the hour, or like the hours that I worked, truly has just helped me like zoom out and be able to see where money is coming in, where money is going.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you eventually set up an LLC. So is that something that's common among freelance designers?
Well, a lot of freelancers I know also have their own companies, right? So
Right.
like they're offering services. So I think it's a good half and half. I just found it easier when it came to tax season and to separate myself from that, because I was also working different jobs. I was working for a school district. I was like taking on all these other freelance opportunities. So it really helps me narrow down like, this is where my freelance money is going, and it helped me keep those separate, which I found really, really helpful. As somebody who is not super tax savvy or very accounting savvy, like the more clear distinction I made, it just made that tax season a lot easier for me.
Right. Awesome. That's all
Yeah.
really great information. All right. So, as a freelancer, you're working with lots of different designers. How do you
Hmm.
adapt to the designer style that you're working on if it's different than your own? Or do you recommend trying to freelance for designers who have a similar aesthetic and design style to yourself?
Oof. Oh, that is such a loaded question. I think it's important, whether you're a freelancer or not, just in the community, to kind of find your own voice. Like, what really inspires you? Is it Dutch masters? Is it this beautiful garden style? Is it like avant-garde? Like, what is it that like really like lights your fire? Because you do the best work when you are enjoying what you do, right? And I think people now hire me as a freelancer because I have a very specific aesthetic, right, that I help provide. But I also think it's really, really very important, if you want to build a career as a professional freelancer, just to be very like adaptable, right? Like you have to be well versed in not only like, I'm really good at this design style, but if somebody needs you to do like a large ballroom hydrangea wedding, can you do that? If it's very gardeny, if it's like, do you know like basic processing for flowers? Do you know how to wire things? Like, the more tools you can put in your tool belt just makes you a way more well-rounded freelancer. And I know some of the top companies really like, they're doing wildly different weddings or events every weekend. So to have the skills to be able to like adapt and take that feedback is, I think, probably top three most desirable skills to have as a freelancer, for sure.
Very good. Awesome. Awesome. You mentioned a little bit about like Instagram and using DMs and things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about social media and Instagram as a freelancer, and what kind of content you should be putting out there to showcase and market yourself? And how does and kind of just building off of that, once we answer those questions, kind of how does that work? Like showcasing yourself on projects that you don't necessarily, it's not your brand, right? Like if you're working for another designer, another company, like I know some people, I don't know if that is that part of the contract or whatnot. So I feel like that can be a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah, it's a little sticky for sure. I think we're in the age of social media, where we want to share these beautiful projects that we're a part of. First things first, I'm the realist, but I think that all companies should have a social media policy. And then when you are bringing on any of these 1099 employees, like whether they're like day of or a true like floral freelancer, um, just to like set the boundaries first off, like who do you tag? What does that look like for us? I think it's tough because as a freelancer, you want to be able to share. I recommend if you are a florist who also has your own event company or you're selling to the public as well, um, I would keep your business um, Instagram account separate from your freelancing Instagram, because there's a lot. The way that I structured my Instagram as a freelancer is proper tagging. I would put highlights in of like the jobs that I was working, and I used that as an asset when I'm reaching out to these top companies and being like, I think I would be a good fit as a freelancer for you. Here's a couple examples of like me being on site. This is my work. So I found it very valuable to book those jobs. But where I think it gets really gray is if, say, you come work with Sweet Brew and we do this really cool installation, and you take photos and you post about it on your Instagram and there's no tagging or it's not clear who like the original florist is. Um, and you're trying to kind of essentially sell that design to like your audience, I think that's where it gets a little bit fishy, and I think
Right.
you have to be very, very careful, because I had this frustration early on as a freelancer. I was like, well, I did all the work and I did the design, so like I should have some ownership to it. But truly, like you don't see all the like the behind the scenes and the client management and the product or the hours and hours and hours of like work that is put in pre you showing up on that event day and coming up with this beautiful design. So you have to really give credit where credit is due. And like these business owners work really hard, and you're right, you don't own the rights to this design. You are giving your time and your talents as your job. Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, so I heard you say, I think that's really great advice, kind of to avoid any bumps in the road when it comes to, working with other companies. But I heard you say like that you create highlights, that, you do post as long as it is, properly tagged. And is there any other kind of content that you think would make sense to kind of be putting out there? Like, do you put things out there like get to know me or like like more personal types of things, or do you kind of try and keep it like all about the flowers?
No, I think that putting information about yourself is super important too, because we don't hire just talent, we hire people, right? And at the end of the day, we want people on site that like we gel and we vibe with. So I think part of creating your own voice, like be weird, like experiment, like try different mediums, try things that like design styles like that you maybe are not super comfortable with, and post that and talk about that. And like there's so many valuable resources out there, like like how to's and like bouquet boot camp and all of these like really great experiences. So like I think showcasing what you learn from those is also really important to information to put out there. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think that put content out there that you want to see, and I think
Right.
that will attract the people that want you involved in their business.
That makes sense. And then is there anything beyond the gram? Like, do you use other things other than Instagram, or is that kind of where everyone's focus is still?
I mean, Instagram Reels. I'm not a TikToker. I really wish I was. I wish I was hip enough to be on TikTok. Like social media platforms are really good. I think there. I can't list any off the top of my head, but I do know that there's just like different websites that you can like just essentially list yourself as an independent contractor with a skill set. So some of the best freelance florists I know aren't just floral designers. They're like they do window displays. They do all these other cool mediums that make them really well rounded as a freelancer. So maybe like looking at like Indeed or job sourcing, where you can post profiles of like this is my very like specific skill set. Like you might be.
Yeah, and do you find that freelancers have like their own website kind of like listing what you just talked about, but something that they kind of own and they can like point people to if they want more information, more like in detail. Is that something that people do or no? Not really.
Oh, I'm sure that's a great idea. I don't personally have that. I think where that gets a little sticky is how do you showcase work on that? Like if you're only doing jobs for other people, like how do you yeah, I think it's a little sticky. I think having a website that is just a touchdown space that has, these are my general skill set, maybe even like hourly rates on it might be super helpful. I don't know anybody personally that does that. If there is anybody in the audience now or like anybody that has more information on that, I would love to know because I think that would be a really good like e-business card source. I have a dot card. I don't know if you've heard about those, but it's like essentially like a little tap card that people can scan with their phone that just pops up their email, their website, their like Instagram link, and all of that. That might be a really helpful resource for anybody that is just like on site and wants to network. I think word of mouth. So all of the jobs that I've gotten are either from like other freelancers that have like worked other gigs and said, hey, like this person is really good. We should definitely bring them on. Is a really good resource. It's just like the community around you.
That's very good. All good information. I
Yeah.
did have a question. Also, Cece. Hi, Cece. Cece's watching. I saw a comment from her and I lost it. Oh, she says, I'm on TikTok and you can do it. So,
Uh-huh. You're right.
oh, wait, I just unplugged myself. Hold on, give me a second.
Cece,
There we
I
go.
will definitely get on TikTok just for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it. You know what? We even struggle with that a little bit too. Just because one, we're not there. So like, we have like different branches helping us, but it's a process. And I feel like to make a good TikTok, it's a lot more than just posting a picture. It takes time and there's editing and timing and it's a whole thing. And then
It's a whole job. Yeah.
yeah, and then I've worked on like TikToks or Reels and then like my app stopped working or whatever, like Instagram's pretty good about like saving and you can continue editing and all of that, but like there's bugs too. So then that gets a little frustrating. So I feel you guys. I'm with you. I do marketing and it's difficult for me. So I can only imagine. Some people are amazing at it. But there's still those of us that struggle. So
Yeah.
um
And
go
I
ahead.
think one of the things that for me, I really want to make sure anything that I'm putting out into the interwebs, the craziness that is the interwebs, is like not just noise. It's something that I'm really passionate about, or I think will be good for the community, right? I think in January I had a call with you and Ali,
Mhm.
essentially wild imposter syndrome. I'm like, who am I to like have this platform and to like, there's nothing I have to share that is like worth anything, which is sad. It's realizing that we do have a voice, and like if you are putting your heart and soul behind something, people will soak that up. I think I am still very much a student of flowers. I learn things every day. Um, and I hope to just that everybody feels encouraged to like share whatever their journey looks like with the world because people will love that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Cece also says she uses Pop, and it's amazing. I don't know if that's similar to the dot card. I'm
Hmm.
not sure what that was about, but I'm gonna look it up, and I'll share a
Fantastic.
link. And then she did have a question. She said, "When you are a lead on a wedding day, what would your pay be around, or what is a pay range for like when you're leading on a wedding day?"
Ooh, so I am on contract with Sweet Village, so I get a general. I don't know how to answer that. Um,
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't
I
know how to answer that. I think what are we leading? Am I like truly like the only person on site? Because that's upwards of like 35, $45 an hour. If I am truly like the only one representing the company as a lead on that project. Um, but it depends on the event. Yeah, it depends on the event. Sorry, Cece, I wish I had a better answer for you.
No,
Yeah,
it's okay. And pay is definitely, a
it is.
tricky thing I feel like to talk about, and everything's in ranges. And It's all good. But I know all of this information is very, very good
And
and
I can
interesting.
only speak towards my experience as a freelancer, right? It's such a vast topic with so many different facets. I think my hopes from this conversation and the video moving forward is it just opens the door for other conversations. Like I would love to put together a panel of just like some of my favorite freelancers who have such wild experience in the industry and just like have like a roundtable discussion on all these hot topics because like I am not like the end all be all of like this is how you should freelance. This is just my experience, right? And so I think just having an open conversation and hearing business owners that are like hiring freelancers, what is their perspective? If I have somebody that's been in the industry for 15 years, what lessons have they learned? Somebody that's just starting out, somebody that it's not a part of the Florida community at all that is a freelancer. I think those are all very valuable perspectives, and I would love to set up, some type of conversation where we can just sit and hear all that juicy information.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need a platform, let me know. I gotcha. I love to do that. I like having panels too. It makes it fun. It's hard. I feel like going deep with people, but it's fun getting different perspectives, and it just makes it go by. It's just fun. Like Cece's been on a panel with me, like, and I think had Braun and like just I had some big personalities, and that made it fun. But just having a different array of experiences. I like hearing stuff like that, and from all different walks of life in different parts of the country and maybe even the world. You never know. It just makes it for an interesting conversation for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm sure that someone as creative as yourself needs to do their own thing once in a while and put their own creations into the world. So, do you have any, what types of projects or things do you do to make sure you are still creating your own unique content?
Yes. So I went through the season, pandemic brain, where I felt like I was no longer being super original or I didn't really have a lot to put into the world. And I really challenged myself to find other mediums outside of just flowers. So I took like a pottery throwing class. I'm taking like a live sculpture class. I like got into painting, music. I highly recommend that every creative that is on here right now find something else that like lights your fire because I am so much better of a creative in the floral community now because I get to pull from other inspirations and I'm good at these other mediums because I have the design skills from flowers. So stay hungry, stay curious. One of the quotes that I live by is from Martha Graham, who is the pioneer of modern dance. And it's essentially like your job as an artist is um, to have this like unique energy, and if you don't put it into the world it's lost forever. It's not yours to determine if it's value or if it's good enough. Your sole job is to put it into the world. So I think people like Studio Mundine who have this like whole theory on like outcome neutral designing and like these freelancers and these creatives on the internet that are just going out there and like snipping from their yard or like leftover flowers. Like there's so many ways that we can still create that like lights that fire, and I think putting that out there really resonates with people. I don't know if
Yeah.
that answered your questions, but stay hungry, stay foolish, and make cool art, people. Yeah.
It works for me, Daylen. Works for me. I have another question from Maxit Flower Design. They ask, how can we as business owners make freelancing opportunities easier for you, the freelancers?
Make freelancing opportunities easier for the freelancers. I think setting clear boundaries. I think just making sure that everything is organized, making sure we have pretty accurate timelines, what the scope, what the expectation is. I can't tell you the amount of times I've just showed up to a job and like didn't realize that what the expectation was, and that just doesn't ever give anybody like a great experience. Um, I think some things that hold on to me. Oh gosh. Some things that really would help me is having the pay conversation, knowing what the expectation of the work is. As a freelancer, I never try to get on site and just like go to town. Here's Rachel. If you want to say.
Hi, Rachel.
Sorry. Um, so just, I guess the answer to that question in short is just very, very clear expectations on pay, on what your expectations on the job site is, and just social media policy, having it all laid out. So
Right. Very
my
good.
2 cents.
I had another comment in here from ATD Wedding, and it's lengthy, but I think the point of it was like you mentioned that you've worked on like big celebrity events and things like that. And I know from our experience working with big celebrity events that like you're not allowed to talk about it, right? Like until everything's published and all of that. Like can you talk a little bit about like how those kinds of things work? Because it's a little bit definitely more sensitive than kind of a regular wedding, or maybe it's not, but that's kind of it's everything's very hush hush. So like when we're like just selling flowers to like a big designer, we're not, no one in the company is allowed to know because we can't afford that to get leaked out. It's like it's very, yeah, it's very sensitive. So just curious on like what your experiences and thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone from extremes of like having to sign NDAs, and that's just they're very private clients, and you don't talk about it. You don't get photos, and you just have to like your job is to go in and do the task and go home. It's not necessarily for your notoriety, right? Like it's really cool that you get those gigs, but you are also being hired for a job. So you just have to be really sensitive. I've had to wait like years to publish things because they needed to like have enough time between the event and like making sure it gets published in the right places for like that to even show up in different places. Um, NDAs are just tricky. That's what you're signing up for.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So one of my last questions for you is, speaking of big events, I'm sure you've worked on some really amazing projects. And have you had a couple that are your favorites that you've worked on
Oh my
that
gosh.
you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah. That's like asking me to choose from my children. I've been very fortunate to work with some incredible flower humans and some really cool adventures. One of them that like really sticks out to me is I'm from Wyoming, so I got to live my freelance dream of like doing a wedding in Wyoming with bows and arrows flowers in Jackson Hole, which is if you guys have not been to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, please go. It is one of the most beautiful places in our country. Um, but we're setting up in this beautiful tent at the base of a mountain in just like this expansive field, and then all of a sudden like a herd of elk just like wanders through. It just like moments like that, and you're like you're hot and you're sweaty and you're setting up weddings, but you're like, holy cow, this is my job. Like I get to like work with beautiful flowers and like sit at the base of a mountain, and like yeah, it's wild. And um another would be I got to see firsthand what like like flower farms, right? Like for me, I would previously had just ordered from wholesalers, and I didn't really know like the heart and the people behind where the flowers come from, which I think everybody should do. But we had a good friend here, Elizabeth, who during the pandemic she worked for Sweet Root and then took some time off to go up to Alaska and work on a peony farm, which is like also dream come true, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of their growing season, they just sent us like thousands of Alaskan peonies just to like play with and create whatever we wanted. And like when I tell you, like I've never felt more joy in my life than like just having thousands of these like beautiful Alaskan peonies to play with. And last but not least, I promise, like again, I'm so passionate and like excited about these jobs.
I
Um,
love it. Keep on
yeah,
going.
yes. Is my second Mayesh design video, which is not out yet. But like I'm just very grateful for you and this platform, which is like it's like almost a decade strong of like Design Star, which is
Yep. I'm that
the
old.
wow, which is no, but like how amazing that you guys create such a beautiful platform for creatives. Like I really struggled in that conversation, like I was telling them about in January, of like not sure like what I want to put into the world, and like I pitched you the idea of like just this wild like creation that I wanted to do, and the fact that like you guys gave me free reign to do that. Um, I just hope that people understand me a little bit more by this video project. Like that's my whole thing as an artist, is like I just hope to be a little bit more understood without words, and that is what this project is to me. It's like just a love letter to the floral community and my roots in dance and to my mom, who has passed away, but would have been so freaking proud of like to see where I am now and like the amazing people that we have like I get to interact with all the time. So yay flowers, yay Mayesh video too. I can't wait for you to see it.
Oh, I can't wait to share. I can't wait to see it. I have goosebumps and tears and everything. You're just so genuine and I love your energy and I'm just excited to share it with our community and share you and people to get to know you. So I think I love it. It's all amazing.
Right. Well,
Um yeah. Uh, okay. I did see another question come through after that, that emotional moment from Max at Flower Design. Again, thank you for your questions. They want to know, and you talked a little bit about this in your video. What tools do you bring to a freelancing gig that you have found the most helpful?
oof. Okay, so as a freelance, you're actually legally required to have your own tools. I know a lot of jobs like we have a whole like on-site toolkit that we bring to every event, which is linked in our bio if you wanted to take a look at that. But I think any freelancer should have um, their own pair of snips. I'm a floral knife guy myself. I just happen to have them right here. After having conversations with Amy Balsters, who is an incredible educator, but pre being an educator was a very experienced freelancer. Um, and like just hearing her story about like how flowers have taken a toll on her body and why she has pivoted to like certain tools like shears that don't have like the spring loaded in them because like this action is not great or like floral knife like having I'm digressing here talking about bodies, but let me get back on track. A floral knife, always. Several different types of pair of shears, whether they be ARSs or like a non-spring loaded. Like this is my like favorite. Like just if I'm designing in the studio, pair of shears. Having your own zip ties is really good. Bind wire. Even like I like squish up like a like 3x3 panel of chicken wire because you never know when that's gonna come in handy. You just never know like when like you could just zoom in and save the day because you have your own little personal toolkit. I have a full link on my video, and then if you go to sweetrootvillage.com on our like we have a whole guides system. We have a full list of everything that we carry on site that is super helpful for anybody that just wants to know what they should have to be prepared for any circumstance.
And that's the schoolhouse, right? Dot sweetrootvillage.com link, I
Yes.
believe, that has the guide. So I shared that in the comments too, so everyone can check that out when they have
And what's
time.
really nice about the schoolhouse, they also have a very like well, I could talk about how incredible Sweet Root Village is. Like when I tell you like the most incredible family group of people, like Rachel and Lauren have created such a beautiful community, like not even just like in the studio, but everybody that works around them. And they actually have a course online about, pricing and that type of guiding where they, if you're a business owner and you want to hire freelancers, they lay out pretty like well how to budget that into your costs to make sure that like, is it like truly on-site help or is it like, do you need like a very experienced designer and how they lay that out? So no, sorry for that plug, but like it's very good.
Plug away. All is
Yeah.
good. We love Sweet Root Village as well. So they're amazing people. And so it's, again, not surprising that you're also an amazing person because I have found that, just people with that energy surround themselves with kind of people with really great energy and love for flowers in our industry, which we love. Okay. I have a few more things. Penny Stone. Hi, Penny. How are you, girl? She wants to know. We talked a little bit about your LLC, but she wants to know: do you have your own business license when freelancing?
I do have my own business license in the state of Texas. Yes, I do. And
Okay.
that just helps for me, like if I need to get insurance or my own liability, I thought that would just be really helpful. Yeah. So the answer is yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Good. Um. All right. And then there's a comment that came in from Studio Floraison I like that name. That's fun. But they said, but businesses could make freelancing easier by packing supplies like Sweet Root does. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah. So we have a whole, we call it our bucket of tricks. It's
Okay.
a full like array of tools. So um, if you were curious what tools you should have, I would highly recommend checking out that list.
Awesome.
It's
Good, good,
very
good.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw that on the schoolhouse link too when I was checking it out myself. So very good. Daylen, thank you so, so much for coming on and sharing all of this amazing information and just your light and love. I know we talked a little bit about this. You brought up your mom, and I do know like she's incredibly proud of you before probably any of this even happened. You're just a really, truly amazing person. So I just wanted to thank you for your support and your time. And it is not easy, guys, being a Mayesh design star. There's a lot of work that goes into all of these videos and all of the content, the planning. It's like a little mini event all on its own. So we appreciate you for everything that you've done and again, all of your support.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm super humbled to be part of the Design Star family. So thanks, y'all.
Awesome, awesome, guys. I'm gonna wrap up, but we have a few minutes and I see. Yes, okay. Not another. Oh, yes, there is a question. Hold on, give me a second. It's coming through. Oh, okay. So someone is asking if you can expand on the insurance you have as a freelancer.
Ooh, so I currently don't have insurance as a freelancer because I am employed with Sweetroot.
Mhm.
I think it's a little bit tricky. It can be wildly expensive. The Freelance Guild has a lot of resources just as like a full industry, like as freelancers of like they offer different insurances, and that's the Freelance Guild. Affordable Care Act. Again, I'm not super like it might be good to bring in like an insurance professional in that panel that we're gonna put together. But yeah, I wish I could. I would love to. I'll send over some information to you that maybe you can send to
Okay.
all of our friends here about specific insurance questions.
Awesome. Great, great, great. And then with that said, I love all the questions that came through, guys. Thank you so, so much. I'll be posting everything up on the blog, all the show notes and links, a video replay, the podcast, because we have a podcast version of the show, guys, if you didn't know. Um, and I have one more question. Do you have time, Dalen?
Yeah, oceans of time.
Okay. Sorry for the choppy ending, but I love all the questions that are coming through, so I I don't wanna stop. Um, okay, so, there's a question that came through, and it's, "What is the best way to find freelance designers as an owner?"
Ooh,
Great question.
I that is a great question. I think use your pool of floral community. I think that just asking other business owners if whether they would even freelance. I think posting on your social media. Again, there's like if you want to just general sweep, it's even putting out like on Indeed and these like job platforms. It depends on what you really need from the job, right? Do you need just somebody on site that'll help you move things around to like set tables, or do you need like an experienced, well-oiled designer that is there to like help project lead or like do a very specific vision? If you're looking for like those very like tuned in designers, I think just reaching out to different people in your floral community, like who do they use? Would they be open to like sharing some of those friends? Um, yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great. That question was from Juliet Lafleur. And then I have another question from Glamorous Events. They want to know, should business owners pay for food for freelancers?
Ooh, I don't think it's required. I think it's always really, really nice, especially when we're working like 10 plus hour days. And I think that's just part of being really clear and upfront of what the expectation for the day is. It's not even just like this is what the job is, but like we're going to work from this hour to this hour. There will be like 30 minutes, an hour for lunch provided, like just being clear with like that will not be provided. It depends on for us, like what the day looks like. If we're on site and there's just the timeline is just so tight that like there's no way for the freelancer to like take that time off, and it's more valuable for them to stay on site, and it's like we've budgeted in a cost to do a light lunch, then I always think it's a really nice touch, in terms of staying productive and staying efficient if you can provide it. But if you don't have the budget for it, I think just being very, very clear with that from the get-go would be really helpful so they can prepare.
Yeah. Prepare and stay nourished, because on those long days they do need to kind of take care of their body. I know from talking with Amy, she's a big proponent for that, is, taking care of yourself, self-care, even during those really long days. So, and food is important. So yeah, very good.
Yay.
Any other questions, guys? I'm like scared to like try to wrap it up again, because let me see.
What is
Uh,
something that you and the Mayesh team are excited about?
what are we excited about? I'm excited about your next video. I'm excited about I and we have another designer that's doing something totally freaking different this summer too. Like, it has, like, we've never done any, like, and I honestly haven't seen it done in any kind of video. So just those kinds of things I'm excited about. We're also kind of planning, I don't want to say too much, but we're trying to plan like a little game show. That's all I'm going to say there. My team really just wants to have fun this year, because honestly, even as you guys all know, like, yesterday was like more heartbreaking news. I can't even talk about it without crying. And so, like, our whole thing this year, like, just because it's been like one thing after another, and it's like stacking and stacking and stacking, is like, we just want to have fun with you guys, like with our community. And so we've been trying to do things like that. I hope that it's that people have noticed a little bit. That's kind of been our theme this year. So we're trying to just plan some fun things. And so I'm excited about that. So you have to stay tuned. We'll probably do that over the summer. And once it maybe slows down, who knows, right, guys? Like, I don't know if anyone has any time to breathe this year. I know everyone is crazy. So yeah, just having fun, and just some of these amazing designers that we get to work with, like you, Daylen, in our next one that we have coming up, and the rest of the year. We're just trying to have fun and do stuff that we haven't done before. So like, when Daylen like said he had like this crazy idea, and he wasn't sure if we were going to do it, we're like, yes, let's do it. We want to do that. Just because we feel like it's just going to bring so much joy, and I think it's going to inspire so many people, and that's where we at right now. We want to just bring joy and inspire people and help everyone through all of these crazy times. And I feel like I say it almost every single episode, but it has been bananas, and we're just here with you guys, and we want to get through it with you guys, as your partner. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
it does not go unnoticed. So thank you for being that light. We really
Oh,
appreciate you. Yeah.
thank you. I have one more question, if you
Let's do it.
let's do it. Albert and Floral, as business owners, usually issue a 1099 for freelancers or just cash? Can we talk about that out loud?
I think 1099 is always best. The IRS does this really funny thing where they know how much you owe, but like it's a guessing game at the end. So it's probably just best to be able to keep track. You have to do what's right for your business, but 1099 is always how I would recommend you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you pay cash, um, you know, gotta keep that on the DL. Okay, so we're gonna move on from that. But that was a good question. 1099, I think, is very important, and just helps everyone stay on the up and up and track everything. So that way tax time is easier for everyone. And any other questions, guys? I think that's it. I don't
Questions, comments,
see
concerns, beauty tips, poetry. Put them out there, people. Put them out
poetry. I love it. Floral. I don't know how to pronounce that. They say, I really enjoy freelance working and sharing with amazing people. Um, Cece says, "Oh my God, I'm dead. Can we talk about that out loud?" With what I said. We have some other people saying, "I pay cash." You don't wanna put that out in the universe, though.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, I think on freelance. Oh, Penny, we did talk about setting rate of pay in the beginning of the show. So for all of you guys that missed the beginning of the show, make sure that you watch the replay. The replay will be available on YouTube and Facebook immediately. And then I will have the podcast and the Instagram replay up in about a day or two. It just literally depends on what comes through my inbox and my meetings and things like that, since I do do all the editing. And I have another thing. Okay, and anything that comes through right now while I'm closing up, we'll add to the show notes. I see some Allie's typing from Instagram Live, which is amazing. So I love that. And I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Daylen. This was a really great episode. I hope that everyone that watched found even just a little sliver of something that was really helpful. And also, if you guys are watching and you have ideas, like Daylen had this whole panel thing that he wants to do, I'm down for that, guys. If you have ideas and you want to see something or you want to learn about something, I don't like have like all these shows like planned out like way far in advance. I'm a very agile person. It's just my nature and kind of how my team has to be to be able to react to everything that we work on. So I'm all up for any ideas that you guys have. So go ahead and send those over to me. You have my email. As someone mentioned earlier, she doesn't want to receive my emails, and that's okay too. But for those of you that do want my email, you have it. And you can always reply. I actually do get those emails, I promise. It's me that sends them. I read them. My team reads them. We all get them. So we appreciate anything that you want to hear or learn. We're all ears. And so that's a wrap for today's show. Yay! Thank you, Daylen.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, and be sure you stay tuned for our next show. Daylen will be on again next month, talk about his new video that'll be launching here at the beginning of June. We're excited for that. And I know I'll have more guests too up on board for you guys. So just stay tuned for details. Thank you again for spending the last, 58 minutes with us. We're almost to an hour, and we will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.